Hey, good morning. We are going to get started on another lesson. Sorry about the shadow. I don't know what to do about it. If I open the window, then we have little sunshine lines running across the table. So we won't get into anything too technical today. So we'll just try to work around this little shadow that's here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our paper, and I forgot to tell you what kind of paper to get. Like this is, it's cold pressed, 140 pounds. That's usually what's sitting on the shelf. There's something called hot press, and the difference you can tell in them if it's not written on the little pad is the cold press has little textures to the paper, where hot press is just smooth and it's a lot harder to work with. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace our pattern onto our paper. And to do that, what I do is I take a little bit of masking tape so that your pattern doesn't roll around and move on you. I take a little bit of masking tape. Take my pattern, place it on here where I want it, and I just kind of tape this here and tape it to the back like that, so that you've got it taped on the back and taped on the front. And do this over here also. And then I take my Sorel, the dark Sorel, and I place it with the carbon papered side down. I've got water on this, so it's not going to probably be too happy. And I slide this in here, and then I proceed to trace. Now I use an ink pen so that I don't get lost on my pattern. I'm going to try not to press too hard, but I still want to see the pattern underneath. This is just a little bit crooked, I think, on my paper here. It is. Let's move that up a bit. And I'm going to just start outlining. I have my black and white reference up here on the computer, on my pad. I have the black and white pattern printed out now, and I'm just going to trace. And I wish I had a different colored pen so I could tell where I had been before. And I'm just going to trace out around here. And not pressing too hard this time. Last time I kind of pressed too hard, and I had really dark lines, and I don't want dark lines. If you want to, feel free to freehand it. I just think this saves me a lot of time. And I did rob this photograph off of the internet, but I did change it so I didn't violate any copyright laws. But if you use your own photographs, then you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I'm also looking at my pattern that I have print or on my computer. If you notice, I missed a little petal that was here. This little petal kind of comes around here, curves over. It's got a little white edge on there. And you can check to see if you're doing okay. It's a very light under there. It's not dark like my last one. And I'm gonna just trace around these very carefully. Sometimes you mess up. You can change this a little bit, especially if you don't press too hard and get it so dark that it's unerasable. I probably already did that one, but we'll do it again. One thing about watercolor, when you get into more difficult paintings, what you have down as a foundation is very important. Your detail. Now, if you're going to just paint very loosely and just look at color and not too much detail, then you're fine. But I usually start out with detail and then have you loosen up later, which is probably backwards, but this gets you your skills that you can use when you start loosening up. This will give you your values and your intensities. This is where I get lost. I don't know which ones I've traced over and which ones I haven't, but we'll try to make sure we get them all in there. Okay, let's see what happened here. Oh, it's there. I will probably go back and try to put in some a little bit darker lines, but this is better than the last one I had where the lines were so dark. And since I'm using this is the last one, the lines were really dark. So then what we do is very carefully take your pattern off of here. Sometimes this will tear your paper, tear your watercolor paper. Be very careful. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tape this onto your Masonite, a board, your plexiglass, your foam board, or whatever you have. And then we're going to use masking tape to tape this onto the board. I like to use the 2-inch masking tape, that way I can get a good grip on the side here to make sure this doesn't roll up. Now I'm not going to have much room down at the bottom and at the top, so but if you're going to start out a new painting and you can pick the size of paper you want, make sure there's at least a good ½ of an inch of tape on your edge here so that it doesn't come up while you're painting. And then we're going to take this side down. And this side, now here it's going to get skimpy because I want as much canvas on this as I can possibly get. Leave a little room here. Can't see that. I know this is going to sound wonderful on the tape. I'll try and turn the volume down. The tape ripping off the... Okay, now you're ready to paint. What we're going to do first is... I bet I forgot my paint. I'm going to have to go get my paint. I don't think I left one of the little paint here. I did not, so let's go get that. The black and white reference photo. And I'm going to look here at where the darkest areas are. It shows up really good when you do a double whammy computer and the phone. Like this petal here, see how darker that is and how it's darker in here and how under here it's darker and here it's darker. See all these darker shades here? what we're going to do before we put any color whatsoever, I don't even want you looking at your color palette until we have all of our values in with this dark color. And one thing you want to make sure is that make sure your water is clean, because you're not going to want any of your dark color on the outside of these petals. So make sure you've got some clean water there. You don't want to be contaminating your whites with the darks. So I'm going to set this aside. Oops, I just lost it. Okay. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start painting. And how I do this, let's see here. I'm going to do this petal that's right in here. My computer's telling me I have a low battery. And what I do is I come in here. I need to get the right kind of brush, because that brush isn't going to hold much water.